Oh yeah. Burn, baby, burn. Hey Downtimers, today we're going to look at step 2 for building our base blocks in the timber terrain system. So fire up your wood burning tools and let's get burning. Burn.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
And before we get to the wood burning, we have a couple little minor steps we need to do first. The first one is to remove the sawdust from the base blocks, and I use microfiber cloths for this. The first one, the yellow one there, is a little bit damp, and the second one, the blue one, is dry. So I simply wipe off the sawdust with the damp microfiber cloth, and I follow that with the dry one, and it gets all the sawdust off the base blocks, and I don't have to worry about putting chemicals of any sort on the base blocks. And you typically want to keep the wood as chemical free as possible when you're going to burn it. And the next step is what I like to call pinstriping. I simply use a ruler to mark about every 1/4 inch, and then I simply use 2 Legos together to make a T-square, and I'll use that on the base block to make lines. And I'll simply take the line down on every 1/4 inch mark. And I do this on all sides. And I found the best way to do this is to simply mark everything with your ruler first and then go back and pinstripe all sides. But as you see here, I was being kind of stubborn. I was doing one side at a time. Although it doesn't make a whole lot of difference. I will say this, sometimes the wood doesn't cooperate a whole lot. You'll notice I'm marking the wood, in some places I'm marking it 2 or 3 times for one stripe, and others I'm just taking the pencil down once. So sometimes the wood's a little bit stubborn and it doesn't like to take the graphite very well. But at the end, it's really not a huge deal if you don't get a real good solid line with the pencil, and you'll see why here in just a little bit when we start burning. I put the lines down with the grain of the wood, and on the ends I simply line those lines up with the lines on the side, usually going lengthwise with those. I don't go widthwise on the ends because, well, there's only 4 or 5 lines versus a whole bunch, and I just think it looks a little bit better. And sometimes I'll go ahead and measure the ends too and put the lines down that way, but I found that if you line the lines up on the ends according to the lines on the sides, it usually looks a little bit better. Couple quick safety tips about wood burning before we get into that step. You want to be sure to keep the tip of the wood burning tool away from your fingers as much as possible, obviously, because it's going to be very hot. And when it's not in use, you want to make sure you turn the temperature gauge all the way down and you unplug it from the outlet. Also, you do not want to breathe in the fumes from burning the wood, so make sure you have a fan behind you. A lot of times I'll have a ceiling fan, but it's always a good idea to have a fan behind you as well, pushing the fumes away from your face. And now we've finally reached the wood burning step, and I use the Walnut Hollow Creative Versatool that I got off Amazon for a little bit less than $25. It's an adjustable wood burning tool. It has a temperature gauge on it, so you can vary the temperature. I usually set this all the way up on high when wood burning here on the base blocks, and you can do a lot with this tool, and I'll probably do a video review on this, so I'm not going to get too detailed into all the you can do with the tool right here and now, but just suffice it to say it works very well for timber terrain and other wood burning projects. Just use the main tip for this, and you simply want to go along the lines that you made before with the pinstriping technique. And basically all you need to know is you need to just take it slow and easy on every line, and it will come out pretty nicely. If you go a little too fast, the lines will not burn very well and they'll be kind of shallow. And one thing you want to do here is make sure the lines are deep and burnt pretty well. And one thing you always want to keep in mind when you're wood burning is you want to make sure you're pulling the wood burning tool towards you, and from top to bottom. You do not want to push the wood burning tool from bottom to top. Always pull it towards you. Unless you're using this technique here on the edge that I just did there, and that just makes the edges look a little bit darker, and I think it makes them look a little bit better. What this does with the wood burning is it makes the piece look like it's made up of planks or boards. And one thing that I like to do to further enhance that effect is to press in on the tops and bottoms of each line, and that way it pushes in a little bit more and gives a little more variation and a little more depth to the line that you're making. The wood actually burns inward, and the line actually goes into the wood. So it's almost like you're making small little trenches in the wood itself. and it really looks nice. It really looks like you have individual boards on the piece. Now obviously I've sped this up quite a bit. Each piece takes about 20 to 30 minutes to burn according to how much texturing and how much detail you want to put in it. If you only do the lines in each piece, you're probably looking at about 20 minutes. If you do a lot more texturing, you're probably looking at about 30. And one little safety tip I did forget to mention before is you want to keep the stand handy. That way if you have to take a break or you need to set the tool down before it's completely cooled off after you're done wood burning, you can always just put it in the stand. You don't ever want to put the wood burning tool down on any table. You always want to make sure you put it in the stand. It can obviously cause a fire or other issues. Okay, so all the lines are done now. So what I like to do now is add some more detail to the base block. And how I do this is add small little lines to each board to further enhance the grain and make it look a little more realistic. And also I'll add battle damage. You can do all sorts of things with the wood burning tool to add battle damage. And I'm just going to put a couple of holes in this piece here, and I'm going to drag the hole out from the top and from the bottom. That way I can put the piece on the table and stand it up on either end and it will work fine. These are looking pretty good. And the next step, which is the final step for building base blocks in the timber terrain system, we're going to look at how to finish these up. So if you guys are enjoying this and you're enjoying the timber terrain system, please give us a like. If you haven't already, please subscribe and leave a comment. Let me know if you guys have any questions or what you think about this new system. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.